So, I wanted to catalog my art history journey. I've been drawing ever since I was a really little kid, like 3 or something, maybe even older, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger. And I didn't start taking drawing seriously until I was in middle school, 6th grade. And I just thought it would be fun to go through the history of my art progress in a video. So, what you're seeing in the background is footage from a game called Library of Ruina, one of my favorite games of all time. Very good game. But that's not about that. Basically, so when I started drawing in middle school, I made one of the first things I did in my first sketchbook. I made a character who was like a puppet that came to life in a post-apocalyptic world or some crap, and a lot of people thought it looked like a bunny, and I didn't like that because I was an edgy middle schooler and I just thought bunnies were lame and shit, which I find hilarious because now I associate who I consider my mascot with bunnies. It's like I've come full circle. It's hilarious. I love it. But once I started drawing that character and other characters for that universe, that's when I started doing the whole world building shit. That's when I started wanting to make actual stories. I mean, I made stories and like little comics when I was a little kid, but like this was me actually sitting down and trying to build a proper world. Now, as middle school progressed, I got into more things. I got into more hobbies. My video game hobby is kind of flourished in middle school. That's when I got into Kingdom Hearts, and from there, if you know anything about Kingdom Hearts, I made my own Nobody OC, which was basically just me, except I look a little different, and I'm in like a Kingdom Hearts inspired outfit. I actually redrew that character very recently, which I will post towards the end of this video when I talk about my current progress. But what I find interesting about looking back at my old characters and my old drawings and all that, it's really interesting just to see how different and how improved my character design and weapon designs got. Not only are they more visible because I drew really small, apparently, as you could see from some of these images, but they also got a lot less cluttered and a lot more refined, which, you know, that's a good step in the right direction, because it's like, you know, you don't want to look at some ugly, gaudy thing, you know. Once I got into a later phase in high school, that's when I kind of started making better characters, but actually I guess that's a good segue into high school. So throughout middle school I made all these characters. I made like quote-unquote stories and shit like that. I never really did anything with the stories. I just had them all in my head, and whatever I drew, and that's sadly how that's how it's been most of the time, up until about now, actually, which is kind of embarrassing to admit. But in high school I continued doing world building. I made characters during high school that were definitely way more influenced by anime. In fact, one of the characters, her story was basically a huge Soul Eater ripoff, because Soul Eater is, to this day, my favorite anime. Basically, yeah, it was just a big ripoff of Soul Eater, and, you know, we do that, artists do that, you know, that we rip off our favorite shows and anime from time to time, and I'm no exception. But one thing that I noticed while looking through my old drawings is that, holy shit, my anatomy was so awful. I can understand now why art teachers and art professors are like, don't start drawing anime right off the bat. You gotta learn anatomy. I never understood that up until being an adult. Cause yeah, my anatomy was really bad in high school. Everybody like I remember distinctly wanting to make like a Kingdom Hearts style, or like almost like a Soul Eater style, but mostly a Kingdom Hearts style, because in Kingdom Hearts and like The World Ends With You and a bunch of other Square Enix bullshit, the characters were like super skinny and they had like really pretty eyes and a bunch of other crap. And I remember wanting to copy that, so I made all my characters super freaking skinny. And it's like, you gotta give them muscle, you know? Like, yeah, it didn't look good. And like everybody looked really stiff. There's actually one drawing that I probably posted, or if not, I'll post now, of like one of my. It's a drawing of my Nobody OC, and he's like, quote unquote, holding. He's not actually holding it. He's like pointing at it or some shit. He's holding his Keyblade or whatever, and you can see a part of his wrist is like broken off into like a second wrist. It looks really bad. It's awful. It's awful. My anatomy was not good, and sadly my anatomy did not improve up until after high school, I think, because during high school that's when I got into ponies. Yeah, I was a brony for a long while, and that's kind of where I just stopped drawing people, and I just exclusively drew ponies. And from there I actually had to learn how to draw a horse's anatomy, like, and by that I mean like legs and like muscles and like how they could bend. But then again, like it's a cartoon, so it's like, you know, I forgave myself for like drawing the front legs like arms, and I, you know, like everybody did that because it was a cartoon. That's how it was stylized. But from there, I just kind of stopped drawing humans for the most part. I mean, I dabbled in it from time to time, but I never really focused heavily on it. For the most part, it was like me humanizing my pony characters. But that's actually where in high school, when I got into ponies, that's when I created my mascot character, the character I consider my mascot to this day. She started off as a pony, and I just developed her and her little universe throughout most of high school and a little bit after high school. And no regrets. I'm a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I was embarrassingly a brony. It's like, I'm not embarrassed by it. I'll embrace it, because being into that is how I met some of my closest friends to this day, and it's what made me the artist I am now. That is what I made my following off of, and my little small following. I wouldn't have that today if it weren't for ponies. So yeah. But once high school was ending, once I was going into university or college or whatever, that's when I kind of started going back into drawing humans, now with the knowledge of having to actually learn anatomy instead of just drawing these like weird stick things or whatever. I just went back to drawing humans. It was mostly just like humanizations of my pony characters. And you know, when I was in throughout high school, I was with a certain friend group that consisted of people online, and I still talk to a handful of them, but I eventually had left that group because I just didn't feel right in it, and a bunch of drama and crap. But pretty much when I left that friend group, that's more or less when I fully committed to drawing people again. And by people, I mean like humans, not like, oh, I drew my mom, I drew my dad, and it's like, I'm not that kind of artist. I suck at still life, but then again, I haven't really tried it, so I can't really say. But anyway, once I basically started drawing humans again, that's when I started doing like little human projects again. And I think one of the biggest story project things I had was like after high school. I might be forgetting one or two, but there is one project in particular that is kind of what made my anatomy what it is today, and that's a little project that I did called The Daughters of the Apocalypse, which was a story about the four horsemen of the apocalypse bringing upon the apocalypse and kind of ruling over Earth. And they had daughters, and those daughters were supposed to like continue their like heritage or whatever the fuck, and the daughters end up hating their fathers, and so like their goal is to, you know, kill them or bring back, like, rejuvenate Earth or something like that. I had a lot of fun with that little, I guess I'll call it a project. I had a lot of fun with that little project because I got to do a lot of world building, and I had so much fun building the world. But the thing is, though, is that I never went anywhere with it. I didn't make a game out of it. I didn't make a comic out of it. I didn't do anything with it. I just drew scenarios and doodles and stuff with those characters, which is a shame because I thought that was one of my most creative little projects that I had done in a long time. But what's interesting is that I started off that little project by making like these characters like really stylized. You could probably see it right now, but they're really stylized. They're kind of cartoony with their anatomy. And the thing is, though, is that this project is not that old, and yet like the anatomy is still pretty rough, even especially because it's so stylized. But as time progressed, the anatomy became more human accurate, I guess. I don't know. But it got better. The anatomy got better, and with drawing those characters, my anatomy definitely changed over, like, with everything. Like drawing my mascot, the anatomy was totally different than what I had drawn her prior. And eventually I just found my own style of like drawing the human anatomy, and I'm really glad that I was able to learn that through that little project. Which leads me into now. I mentioned how like my character designs were a lot worse back in middle school, and hopefully, as you can see throughout this video, you can see that my character designs and weapon designs and all that have significantly improved, at least in my opinion. I've recently been doing a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons characters because I've just been having a lot of fun with that, and I just like coming up with these like little mini stories for these characters. Even though, like, you know, if I don't play these characters, then I can at least draw them and like think of like little stories for them and stuff. I think that's pretty fun. And yeah, also, if you couldn't tell, I mostly draw women. That's just what I draw, I guess. Sadly, I could draw a guy. I don't know, just drawing women is more fun, in my opinion. Nothing against men or anything, but, you know, they're just more fun. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what else to say. But what am I doing now? And now I am working on another project. I stopped doing the daughter stuff a bit ago because I just kind of ran out of ideas and like motivation to actually work on them. But now I'm working on another project called, well, this is a work in progress title, but I think it might be the title I keep, I don't know. It's called Our Disturbed Little World. And it's definitely my darkest, saddest, and I guess depraved story that I've ever come up with. It's a really, really sad story, at least, you know, like, based on the topics that it covers. It's about a severely depressed woman that she's unhappy with her life. She's working this job that she hates. You know, the only person that she ever socializes with is her brother. She's just incredibly unhappy with her life. She's like in her early 20s. She's like 22, 23, and she's just miserable. And she gets someone comes up to her after work one day and they say, hey, I know a way for you to make more money and rejuvenate your life or whatever. And she says, okay, what is it? And then the guy says, I want you to deliver packages for us downtown. And she says, okay, I'll do it. And it turns out that those packages are snuff tapes. And yeah, from then it just spirals down into a series of events that is just not good, very not good. And this I am hopefully going to actually make into a comic, a webcomic, because I've already practiced drawing the panels in my sketchbook. I've already practiced, like, I've done a lot with the character designs. I've fleshed out the world a bit. I just mostly need to figure out how to draw certain locations, and I need to figure out how to draw certain characters, like her boss, for example, even though he's pretty minor, but you know. Otherwise, I feel that this project is something I can definitely finish. The main problem is that I'm trying to actually bulk up the story with actual events and actual things, and I need to figure out an ending, because I don't really know how I'm gonna end it. The daughter's story I ended. I knew how I was gonna end, but this story I have not figured out how to end it. I figured out a bunch of different events that happen in the story, but otherwise it's a pretty bare bones story. But I am really happy with what I have right now, because this is definitely an expression of what has been going on with me for the past couple of years. I mean, obviously I'm not selling snuff tapes, but it's just ever since I graduated university, I've just been pretty unhappy with life and all that. I'm not going to go into detail, mostly because I couldn't find a job. I have a job now, though, so I'm pretty happy about that. And things are looking up, so that's good. But otherwise, this story comes from my, I guess, heart. This is something I'm pretty passionate about. I've been very interested in disturbing media recently as well, and I do plan on making this story fairly disturbing, at least partially, hopefully. Yeah, and as you can see throughout this video, the drawings that I've been making regarding this story are a lot, like, there's something I haven't done in a while, which is just human-centered drawings that it doesn't really tell a story, but it's just concept art, basically. That's basically what it is. It's just concept art. And as you can see, the art style and the anatomy is really something else compared to something that I would have drawn in middle school. And that's the whole point of this video. The whole point of this video was to show my progress in my art journey. I started drawing when I was like, 12, 13. I am now going to be 26 this year, and yeah, I'm really happy with my progress as an artist. I'm really happy with what I've done. It's been a ride. It's been a wild ride, and I plan on continuing that ride, and hopefully I can make something great out of what I have. But yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to talk about that for a good 19-20 minutes or so. If you watched this to the very end, thanks for watching, and have a good day, good night, and take care.